The most dangerous kind of enemy isn't the one shouting at you from across the street, it's the one sitting beside you, offering you a warm smile, a firm handshake, and quietly plotting your downfall. You see, not every threat comes with a warning. Some come dressed as friends, they laugh at your jokes, ask about your family, offer to help carry the groceries to your car, but behind their kindness is calculation. This isn't fearmongering. It's reality. In a world where someone can track your habits with a smartphone, overhear your struggles at the corner diner, or follow your daily routine just from social media tags, danger doesn't always look like danger. Sometimes, it looks like concern. Like loyalty, like someone who knows just a little too much about your life. And by the time you realize what's happening, it's often too late. So ask yourself, who really stands in your corner? And who's simply waiting for the moment you let your guard down? Because when the line between friend and enemy becomes blurry, awareness isn't just power, it's protection that lets uncover the signs that separate simple dislike from a quiet, calculated desire to destroy. 1. The silent observer. Not all predators roar before they strike. Some don't growl. They wait. They blend into your life like background music, always playing, never noticed, until it's too late. We imagine that danger wears a warning sign. That the people who want to harm us will look the part. But the real threats? They show up looking just like everyone else. Sometimes, they bring you coffee. Sometimes, they compliment your garden. And sometimes, they just happen to show up everywhere you go. At first, it feels like coincidence. You see them at the grocery store. Then again at the gym. Then again at your morning diner, sitting a few booths away, reading the paper. But it starts happening too often. Too precise. They know things you didn't tell them. They remember where you'll be, before you even get there. You brush it off. You tell yourself you're being paranoid. Because admitting the truth, that someone is watching you, feels a little too dramatic. But this isn't drama. This is surveillance. And these people? They don't need a van full of monitors or binoculars to follow you. They just need patience. And a smartphone. They piece together your life the same way you piece together a jigsaw puzzle. One post. One tag. One casual comment from a neighbor about your Tuesday night bowling league. And suddenly, your routine becomes their roadmap. Let me tell you about Daniel. A retired firefighter. Proud, reliable. The kind of man who keeps to a rhythm. Every morning, coffee at 7 o'clock, walk around the block, gym by 10, back home before noon. Then came Ryan. Quiet. Polite. Harmless. At first, Daniel saw him at the gym. Then at the hardware store. Then at the pharmacy. Then, on the sidewalk across from his home. Just standing there. Watching. That's when Daniel's gut kicked in. Because instincts don't lie. But polite smiles do. You see, a silent observer doesn't shout. They don't threaten. They don't confront. They calculate. They collect. They camouflage. Their goal is simple, to know you better than you know yourself, so when they finally strike, you won't see it coming. So how do you stay safe? You pay attention. Not with fear, but with focus. Ask yourself, who always seems nearby, but never seems to need anything? Who remembers details you don't remember sharing? Who gives you that unshakable, uneasy feeling when nothing seems technically wrong? Marcus Aurelius once said, "Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought." If you ignore that quiet voice inside you, you give the silent observer exactly what they want, access without resistance. So listen to your gut. Because when someone watches long enough, it's never just curiosity. 2. The quiet betrayal. Not every attack comes with shouting or slammed doors. Some cut much deeper and do it in silence. This kind of betrayal doesn't show up as an argument. It doesn't throw punches or make threats. Instead, it slips in quietly. Slowly. Like a crack in the foundation that widens over time, until everything you've built starts falling apart, and you can't even pinpoint when it began. You don't realize you're under attack, because there's no obvious confrontation. What you do feel is the shift. Someone pulls away. Someone else looks at you differently. Invitations stop. Emails go unanswered. People whisper when you walk by, but nobody says anything to your face. At first, you blame yourself. Did I say something wrong? Maybe I misread the tone. You replay conversations. You apologize when you're not sure why. And all the while, someone else is shaping the narrative behind closed doors. That's how the quiet betrayer operates. They don't need to lie directly, they just twist things slightly. A suggestion here. A comment there. I'm worried about her, she's not herself lately. Said in just the right tone to make people doubt you. Let me tell you about Emily. She worked in her company for over 15 years. She was steady, reliable, respected. Her coworkers trusted her. Her boss valued her voice. She was in every meeting that mattered. Then suddenly, she wasn't. At first it was subtle. Her ideas stopped being acknowledged. Her input got brushed aside. People she once considered allies avoided eye contact. And the worst part? Nobody could explain why. What she didn't see was that someone had been planting seeds of doubt behind her back. A misquoted comment. A joke taken out of context. A rumor that started harmless but spread just enough to reshape how others viewed her. It wasn't a blow, it was erosion. Marcus Aurelius lived surrounded by people like this. He wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth." Because when perception is manipulated, even the most honest person can be cast as the villain. So how do you protect yourself? First, remember this, your character is stronger than your reputation. People can spin stories. They can stir rumors. But they can't rewrite who you are unless you let them. Second, don't ignore patterns. If mistrust seems to follow one person, if drama and division always seem to trace back to them, pay attention. Not to what they say in public, but to what quietly falls apart when they're nearby. And third, strengthen your inner circle. Real relationships, built over years, not moments, are your best defense. As Seneca said, associate with those who will make a better man of you. Because betrayal doesn't always walk through the front door. Sometimes, it waits inside, smiling, listening, watching you unravel from the damage they caused, without ever lifting a finger. 3. The mask of friendship. The most dangerous enemy isn't the one who stands against you. It's the one who stands beside you, wearing the face of a friend. You see, betrayal rarely comes from strangers. It comes from someone you trusted. Someone who earned their seat at your table. Someone you let into the quiet corners of your life. That's what makes this kind of betrayal so devastating. It doesn't feel like an attack. It feels like disappointment. Like confusion. Like heartbreak. Because you weren't expecting it. Let me tell you about James. James was always careful about who he let into his circle. But when he started a new job, he met Daniel, charismatic, helpful, respectful. The kind of coworker who never had a bad word to say. Over time, Daniel became more than just a colleague. He asked thoughtful questions. Remembered names. Sent messages just to check in. James appreciated that kind of loyalty. Before long, Daniel knew everything: James's routine, his retirement goals, his medical history, even trouble he was having with his adult son. But then things started to go wrong. A project James had worked on for months was suddenly handed off to someone else. Private matters he'd only shared with Daniel started spreading around the office. People began treating him differently, like they knew something he didn't. When James confronted Daniel, he laughed it off. Said people gossip, and not to take it personally. That's the mask of friendship. False friends don't steal from you outright. They gather. They listen. They mirror your trust until they know exactly how to use it against you. And when they strike, they do it through influence, not force. They know just how much to say. Just when to say it. And just how to frame it, so you never see the knife until it's already between your shoulder blades. Marcus Aurelius warned us, be wary of those who are too eager to stand by your side. For the man who needs to prove his loyalty is often the one most likely to betray you. So how do you protect yourself? First, be patient. Real friendship grows slowly, through years of action, not weeks of charm. Anyone who tries to earn your full trust overnight isn't looking for connection. They're looking for access. Second, guard your inner world. Your fears, your routines, your private life, those aren't meant for everyone. Epictetus said, the more you reveal of yourself, the more you give others the power to use it against you. And finally, trust consistency. A true friend doesn't just show up when it's convenient. They don't disappear when the spotlight moves. Their loyalty stands the test of time. Because once the mask comes off, it's too late. And in today's world, where trust is currency, you can't afford to hand yours over to someone who's only pretending to be on your side. 4. The gradual attack. Before any storm breaks, the air gets heavy. The wind shifts. The sky darkens. It's nature's way of warning us something is coming. The same is true for people who harbor real malice. They don't explode right away. They test the waters first. They escalate slowly, watching closely to see just how far they can push you before you push back. This kind of attack doesn't begin with violence. It begins with jokes. Jokes that make you uncomfortable, but are always followed with, relax, I'm just kidding. A little too much sarcasm. A little too much edge. Something in the tone that doesn't sit right. Let me tell you about Nathan. He worked in maintenance at a local school. Good man. Quiet. Focused. He had a coworker named Eric who liked to joke about violence. Nothing serious, just things like, man, one day I'm gonna snap, or it's not that hard to make someone disappear. Nathan laughed politely. He didn't want to make things awkward. But then Eric started pushing boundaries. He'd stand too close. Block doorways. Accidentally bump into him a little harder each time. One afternoon, Eric slammed a wrench down on Nathan's workbench and said, imagine if that was your head. That's when Nathan finally stopped laughing. You see, escalation is rarely random. It's deliberate. It starts small to see what you'll tolerate. And if you stay silent, it signals permission. Each test is a stepping stone to the next. First, it's a joke. Then a passive-aggressive remark. Then a physical intrusion, closer, louder, bolder. And if nothing stops them, it builds, until one day, it's too late to draw the line. Stoicism teaches us that strength isn't pretending danger doesn't exist. It's seeing it clearly, without fear, without denial, and choosing to act. Marcus Aurelius once said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, ignoring a threat doesn't protect you. It only gives the threat more room to grow. So what can you do? First, acknowledge the pattern. Don't excuse repeated comments or actions that feel off. If someone makes you uncomfortable more than once, it's not an accident, it's a strategy. Second, set boundaries. Clearly. Calmly. Immediately. You don't have to yell to draw a line. But you do have to make sure they know one exists, and that crossing it has consequences. Third, take action. Document everything. Tell someone. Distance yourself if needed. Don't wait for a big moment to justify your instincts. If your gut tells you something's wrong, that's all the reason you need. Seneca warned us, a sword never kills by itself. It is merely the hand that wields it. Violence doesn't arrive out of nowhere. It's built, slowly, methodically, on moments we're too polite to confront. So don't wait for the storm to break. If you see the clouds forming, prepare before it hits. 5. The long game. Some people explode like firecrackers, loud, impulsive, and easy to spot, but the ones you really need to watch out for are the quiet ones, the ones who don't lash out, they wait. The most dangerous enemies are the ones who play the long game. They're not reckless, they're calculated, and they're patient enough to make you feel safe while they gather everything they need to bring you down. You'd never know they're a threat, because they look like support. Let me tell you about Ethan. Ethan had always trusted his gut. He'd avoided trouble more than once by listening to that inner voice. But this time, it failed him. He worked alongside a man named Daniel, friendly, respectful, consistent. Over the years, Daniel earned Ethan's trust. He asked about his family. Helped him fix a leaky faucet. Remembered birthdays. Eventually, Ethan opened up that he shared his career goals, personal struggles, retirement plans, things he didn't tell just anyone, and Daniel listened, always with a kind nod and a steady smile. Then one day, Ethan lost a major promotion he'd been quietly working toward, and private details he'd only shared with Daniel started surfacing in office gossip. A few weeks later, his reputation and his peace of mind were in pieces. That's how the long game works. This kind of person doesn't come for you when you're guarded, they wait until you're relaxed, until you've told them everything, until you've invited them in so deeply that you never think to question their loyalty. Then, when the time is right, they move, and you never see it coming. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And these people, they hide their true thoughts beneath layers of false loyalty. Until you're so used to their presence, you can't imagine them being anything but good. So how do you spot someone playing the long game? First, notice who shows too much interest in your future. Not every curious person is a threat, but if someone seems unusually invested in your travel plans, finances, or family dynamics, take note, ask yourself, are they trying to help, or are they collecting data? Second, be mindful of how much you share. Epictetus taught that self-sufficiency is power. You don't need to reveal everything to be honest. Boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. And not everyone deserves a pass. Finally, trust patterns, not personalities. A true friend proves themselves over time, but a long game manipulator? They rely on time to get you to lower your guard. By the time they strike, it's never loud, it's not dramatic. It's devastating. So stay aware, because sometimes the kindest voice in the room is the one setting the trap. And if someone's been watching quietly from the start, moving carefully in your blind spots, you're not dealing with a minor grudge. You're dealing with a strategist. And in that kind of game, the only way to win is to see the move before it's made. Conclusion. In life, not every threat wears a warning label. Some come dressed as friends, coworkers, even family. But with age comes wisdom and the quiet strength to see what others miss. You've earned the right to trust your instincts, to set boundaries, To walk away without needing to explain yourself. Stoic philosophy reminds us, we can't control how others treat us, but we can control what we allow, what we entertain, and what we choose to carry. When you start choosing peace over politeness, clarity over comfort, something powerful happens. You reclaim your dignity, your energy, your freedom. Stay aware. Stay steady. And never again apologize for seeing the truth. By the time you reach this stage in life, you've seen it all: the charmers, the manipulators, the ones who smile while quietly setting traps. You've learned that not every threat announces itself, and not every friend has good intentions. But experience sharpens your vision. And wisdom? It gives you something even more powerful than strength: clarity. You start to notice what others miss: the strange timing, the quiet shift in tone, the way someone always seems to be nearby but never quite genuine. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Stoic philosophy doesn't teach us to live in fear. It teaches us to live with focus. To be alert, not anxious. To move with purpose, not panic. And above all, to act, not just react, when something doesn't feel right. Now that you recognize the signs, the silent observer, the quiet betrayal, the mask of false friendship, the slow escalation, and the long game, you've reclaimed something many people lose: the ability to choose how you respond. So what do you do next? You trust your instincts. You tighten your circle. You say no without guilt. You protect your peace like the hard-earned treasure it is. Because in the end, the strongest form of self-defense isn't force, it's foresight. And once you start seeing clearly, you don't just survive what others can't see, you stay in control of what comes next.